The rain hammers against my windshield like tiny fists demanding entry. 4 weeks before Christmas, and Portland has dressed herself in a cloak of water and darkness. I grip the steering wheel tighter, squinting to make out the road markings through the downpour. Just 12 minutes from home. 12 minutes from a hot shower, my worn flannel pajamas, and the leftover lasagna waiting in my fridge. I ease to a stop at the red light, drumming my fingers against the wheel in rhythm with Fleetwood Mac on the radio. Something my mother used to play on Sunday mornings. The smell of coffee and cinnamon rolls filling our house before things changed. The light turns green. I press the gas. The world slows down. A flash of headlights from my left, impossibly bright and impossibly close. The speeding SUV barrels through its red light, aimed directly at my driver's side door. My mouth opens to scream, but the sound gets swallowed by the unholy shriek of metal folding in on itself. My car spins violently, and I'm a rag doll inside it. The smell of burning rubber fills my nostrils, followed by something metallic and warm. Blood. My blood. The world goes black. I wake to the rhythmic beeping of machines, and the antiseptic smell that can only mean hospital. A nurse notices my open eyes and calls for the doctor. Everything feels distant, like I'm watching a movie about someone else's life. Someone is speaking about a compound femur fracture, surgical pins, physical therapy, 6 to 7 months of therapy to avoid permanent damage, the doctor says, his face grave above his neatly trimmed beard. He holds up my x-rays, pointing to the place where my leg is now more metal than bone. There will be a scar, Miss Wilson, a significant one. I close my eyes, trying to process what this means. Just 2 days ago, my life made sense. Ryan and I had spent 5 years building our relationship. Our summer wedding plans were already taking shape. A small ceremony by the Columbia River. Nothing extravagant but meaningful. Why wait any longer? He'd asked on our anniversary, sliding a modest diamond ring onto my finger. My career as a marketing designer had been flourishing. The promotion to senior creative lead had come with a corner desk near the window, and a salary that finally let me breathe easier at the end of each month. I'd celebrated by buying real plants instead of the plastic ones that had decorated my workspace for years. I loved my small apartment, with its creaky floors and the reading nook overlooking downtown Portland. On clear days, I could see Mount Hood in the distance, a snow-capped reminder that beauty existed beyond concrete and glass. I'd spend Sunday mornings there with coffee, and whatever novel had captured my imagination that week, a life I'd built carefully, piece by piece, now shattered like the windows of my car. My mother, stepfather, and sister Sloane arrive on the third day. Their visit lasts exactly 20 minutes. I watch the minutes tick by on the wall clock above their heads. They stand awkwardly around my bed, asking casual questions about the weather, the hospital food, whether the nurses are treating me well. Mother keeps her coat on the entire time. "We brought you something," Sloane says, placing a small fruit basket on the chair beside my bed. The cellophane wrapper crinkles as she sets it down. 3 apples, 2 oranges, and a bunch of grapes I know will go sour before I can eat them. My stepfather checks his watch twice. When they leave, the silence in the room feels heavier than before. I reach for my phone when it buzzes with a text, my hand trembling slightly from the effort. The message is from Ryan. "I can't handle a future like this." 7 words. 5 years reduced to 7 words. I call my mother the next morning, my voice still rough from the breathing tube they'd inserted during surgery. "I need help," I tell her, the words burning my throat. "Just temporarily. The medical bills and rent. Everyone's struggling right now, Emberly," she says, her voice sharp with impatience. "Your stepfather's business is barely staying afloat, and we're helping Sloane with her wedding deposits. I could lose my apartment," I whisper. "We just can't right now." A pause, and Sloane's feeling under the weather. She doesn't want to catch any hospital germs, so we won't be visiting again soon. The line goes quiet after we hang up. I stare at the ceiling, connecting the dots in the acoustic tiles above my bed. The truth crystallizes with stark clarity. My family's support has always been conditional, present only when convenient, absent when needed most. Outside my window, Portland continues to rain. I watch a drop of water trace its way down the glass, joining others in its descent, and wonder how I never saw the cracks in my foundation until everything collapsed around me. The bank statement on my phone screen blurs through my tears. 3 weeks of medical bills have emptied the savings account I'd nurtured for 5 years. The numbers mock me, $17.42 remaining where once 5 figures had provided security. I swipe away from the screen as if that might change the reality. My apartment door wears a neon orange eviction notice like a garish corsage. Final warning screams from the top in bold letters. I lean against the doorframe, my crutches digging into my armpits, the weight of my cast pulling on muscles that haven't recovered from the trauma. 30 days to pay or vacate. But the 30 days had passed while I lay medicated in a hospital bed. You need help packing? My neighbor asks from across the hall, her expression a mixture of pity and discomfort. I'm fine. I lie, the words automatic. Inside, cardboard boxes from the recycling bin form a small mountain in my living room. I slide to the floor, wincing as my cast hits the ground harder than intended. How do you pack a life with a broken body? I stretch awkwardly toward the bookshelf, fingertips grazing the spine of a novel Ryan gave me on our 3rd anniversary. The effort sends shooting pain up my thigh, a scream building in my throat that I swallow back. For 4 hours, I fill one box. Just one. The physical agony of moving with a hip-to-ankle cast fades beneath the crushing realization that no one is coming to help me. Not family. Not Ryan. Not friends who prove to be merely pleasant weather companions. You have until 5 p.m. tomorrow, the building manager says when he stops by. He doesn't meet my eyes. I can't make exceptions. The rental car feels both salvation and shame later that evening. I park behind my old gym, where the membership I can no longer afford once granted me access to hot showers and fitness classes. Now, I'll use their exterior electrical outlet to charge my phone while I sleep in their shadow. I recline the passenger seat as far as it will go, wedging my awkward cast between the dashboard and seat. The emergency blanket from the trunk crinkles with every movement, its silver surface reflecting the dimming winter light. My body refuses to find comfort, the cast a constant reminder of how thoroughly my life has fractured. Morning brings the first humiliation, using the gas station restroom to brush my teeth while avoiding the cashier's curious gaze. I splash water on my face, pat it dry with rough paper towels, and tell myself this is temporary. In the mirror, a woman I barely recognize stares back hollowed cheeks, unwashed hair twisted into a messy bun, eyes that have forgotten how to hope. Bathrooms for customers only. The cashier calls when I emerge. I buy the cheapest coffee they offer, the taste of charity bitter on my tongue. 4 nights, each colder than the last. December in Portland shows no mercy to the homeless. The recently homeless, the never thought I'd be homeless. The distinction matters little when rain hammers against the car windows, a percussive accompaniment to my silent tears. The heater runs until the gas gauge warns me to stop. On the 5th morning, I wake to windows fogged with my breath, the cold having crept into my bones during the night. I check my phone battery at 12%. The doctor's warning echoes in my mind. Without proper care, you could have a permanent limp. My physical therapy appointment was scheduled for yesterday. The notification mocks me from my calendar, the $175 session fee, now as unreachable as the moon. I attempt the exercises the hospital therapist demonstrated, my legs screaming in protest with each movement. The pain shoots from ankle to hip, white-hot and merciless. Straighten and hold for 30 seconds, I whisper, reciting the therapist's instructions. I manage 8 seconds before collapsing back against the seat, breath coming in short gasps. Each day without proper care is a mortgage against my future. The thought of limping through life at 30 terrifies me more than the homelessness, more than the hunger that has become my constant companion. My phone shows 17 outgoing calls to my mother, to Sloan, to my stepfather, none returned. I've left voicemails that evolved from composed requests to desperate pleas, the progression of my dignity's erosion preserved in digital form. Please. I whispered in the last one, 3 days ago. I'm sleeping in my car. I just need a couch. Just until I can figure something out. The silence in response says everything my family won't. I park near a public restroom in a city park, timing my arrival between the morning joggers and the lunch crowd. The rain has returned, a steady drizzle that soaks through my coat as I maneuver from car to building. My crutches slip on the wet pavement. Once. Twice. The 3rd time, my right crutch slides completely out from under me. I fall hard, the impact sending shockwaves through my broken leg. The world whites out in pain. The cold pavement presses against my cheek, rain pooling around my face, soaking through my clothes. I try to rise, but my body has finally surrendered. Through dimming consciousness, I register someone kneeling beside me. Not family, not a friend. A park janitor in a green uniform, his weathered face creased with concern. "Don't move, honey," he says, phone already at his ear. "Help's coming. I'm staying right here." As the ambulance sirens wail in the distance, I wonder if accepting help from this stranger means finally admitting my family has truly abandoned me. Should I keep trying to reconnect with those who share my blood, or accept that sometimes the family we need isn't the one we're born into? The janitor holds my hand until the paramedics arrive. A simple human connection that feels more honest than any I've known in years. A soft knock at the hospital door pulls me from fitful sleep. I blink against the harsh fluorescent lighting, expecting another nurse with pain medication or perhaps the doctor with more bad news. Instead, I find myself looking at Mr. Callahan, my former creative writing professor from Portland Community College. His silver hair is neatly combed, and he's wearing the same type of corduroy jacket he always wore to class. For a moment, I wonder if the pain medication is causing hallucinations. "Emberly," he says, his voice warm with concern. "The janitor who found you in the parking lot is my nephew, Marcus. He recognized you from when you'd visit my office hours." "Mr." Callahan steps closer, his hands fidgeting with the leather strap of his messenger bag. "He told me what happened." I turn my face away, shame burning through me more powerfully than the pain radiating from my leg. "I'm fine," I whisper, the lie bitter on my tongue. "You were sleeping in your car with a compound fracture." His voice holds no judgment, just quiet certainty. "That's not fine by any definition. I don't need. My wife and I have a loft above our garage." He interrupts gently. "It's small, but it has a bathroom and kitchenette. The doctor says you'll be discharged tomorrow. It's yours until you're back on your feet." Pride makes me open my mouth to refuse, but reality closes it again. The eviction notice, the empty savings account, the unanswered calls to family. "Mr." Callahan must see the battle on my face because he sets his bag down and pulls a chair closer to my bed. "Everyone needs help sometimes, Emberly. This isn't charity, it's humanity." When I nod, the relief that washes over his face makes me wonder who is helping whom. The doctor called physical therapy rehabilitation. A more honest term would be torture. Twice weekly, I grit my teeth through exercises that send fire shooting through my leg. My physical therapist, Diane, is relentlessly cheerful as she pushes my limits. "One more rep," she says, for what feels like the 10th one more. "I can't." I gasp, sweat dampening my t-shirt. "You can and you will," she replies, her smile never faltering. The alternative is a lifetime of pain and limited mobility. At night, the accident replays in Technicolor behind my closed eyelids, the flash of headlights, the shriek of metal, the warm trickle of blood down my face. I wake gasping for air, my heart hammering against my ribs like it's trying to escape. The stairs to the loft become my personal Everest. The first time I attempt them alone, I tumble backward on the third step, landing hard on my tailbone. The second time, my crutch slips on the edge, and I barely catch myself on the railing. The third time, I crawl up on my hands and one good knee, dragging the useless leg behind me like dead weight. Mrs. Callahan brings dinner up each evening, setting the tray on the small table by the window. "Just until you can manage the stairs," she insists when I try to protest. "Thank you," I say instead, forcing the words past the lump in my throat. Each night after they've gone to bed, I allow myself exactly 10 minutes of tears, 10 minutes to feel sorry for myself, to wonder if I'll ever be whole again. Then I wipe my face, take a deep breath, and promise myself that tomorrow will be better than today. One afternoon, a folded piece of construction paper appears on my pillow. Opening it reveals a crayon drawing of a woman with a purple cast and flowing cape. "Emberly, stronger than steel," is written in careful block letters across the top. "Mr. Callahan's 14-year-old son, Aiden, must have left it while I was in the shower." I prop it against the lamp on my nightstand, where it's the first thing I see each morning. 3 weeks into my stay, sleep evades me despite the exhaustion weighing on my bones. I scroll through social media, a habit I've mostly abandoned since the accident. Ryan hasn't contacted me once since that devastating text message. My thumb freezes mid-scroll. There he is, tanned and smiling on a beach in Maui. His arm is around a petite blonde wearing a red bikini. The date on the post is exactly 16 days after my accident. 2 weeks after he told me he couldn't handle a future like this. My finger trembles as I tap the message icon for Tara, the only friend who still checks in regularly. Did you know about this? I type, attaching a screenshot. The response comes almost immediately. Honey, he was already seeing her before your accident. I thought you knew. The phone slips from my fingers, bouncing on the bed before sliding to the floor. The betrayal should hurt more than it does. I wait for tears that don't come. Instead, a strange clarity washes over me, like finally putting on glasses after years of squinting. Ryan's abandonment, my family's absence. The pattern crystallizes with perfect, terrible clarity. My worth to them had always been tied to their convenience. When I became inconvenient, broken, needy, they simply walked away. The next morning, I open my laptop and find a free web design course online. My design background gives me a head start, and I lose myself in HTML and CSS for hours. When my leg throbs too badly to concentrate, I switch to watching tutorials on creating responsive layouts. 2 weeks later, I complete my first paid project, a simple logo for a local bakery. When the PayPal notification shows $70 transferred to my account, I stare at the screen in disbelief. I created something of value from this broken body, from this borrowed room. I mentioned to some colleagues that you're doing web design, Mr. Callahan says over breakfast one morning. He slides a list of names and email addresses across the table. They're all small business owners who could use some help with their online presence. That afternoon, I send out emails to everyone on the list. By evening, 3 have responded with interest. When I realize I've earned enough for my next physical therapy session without dipping into my dwindling emergency fund, I allow myself a real smile for the first time in months. The corner of the loft transforms into a makeshift office. My laptop sits on a small desk. Mr. Callahan helped me carry up the stairs. I pin color swatches and design inspirations to a corkboard on the wall. I set my rates $150 for a small website and create templates to streamline my workflow. As sunset bathes the loft in golden light, I check my email one last time before calling it a day. A new message waits in my inbox. Seeking contract web designer for quarterly projects. I open the email and begin to read, the glow from my screen mingling with the last rays of daylight streaming through the window. For the first time since the accident, tomorrow looks like more than just something to endure, it looks like something to anticipate. The morning routine becomes my anchor. Before the sun even considers brightening Portland's winter sky, I'm already awake, my legs stretched across the bed as I work through the therapy exercises that have become as natural as breathing. Bend, extend, rotate. Pain still shoots through my thigh with each movement, but it's duller now, more like an echo than a scream. By 6, I'm at my makeshift desk in the corner of Mr. Potterat, Callahan's garage loft, coffee steaming beside my laptop. The first hour belongs to learning new design software, coding techniques, marketing strategies. Knowledge costs nothing but time, and time is the one resource I now have in abundance. You're building something remarkable here, Mr. Callahan tells me one evening, nodding toward my growing portfolio displayed on my computer screen. Most people would still be wallowing. I don't tell him about the nights I still cry into my pillow. Instead, I show him the website I've launched, showcasing my work, each project meticulously categorized, every design decision documented. Quality over quantity, deliberate over desperate. When the email arrives from Westbrook Industries, a referral from one of Mr. Callahan's colleagues, I read it 3 times before believing it. Their marketing director needs design work for an upcoming product launch. My first corporate client. The deposit they send covers 2 months of physical therapy. I celebrate by buying a real desk chair instead of the folding metal one that leaves my back aching each night. The cream envelope arrives on a Tuesday, 6 months after the accident. Heavy cardstock with Sloan and Derek embossed in silver script across the front. Inside, the wedding invitation is a masterpiece of tasteful excess ivory paper, gold foil, and the words, "Family is everything," curling along the bottom in elegant calligraphy. My mother's voicemail follows the next day. Emberly, it's Mom. Your sister is getting married in August. Surely you can set aside your dramatics for one day. A pause, then her voice softens with practiced concern. Everyone's asking about you. It doesn't look right, you not being there. The words "it doesn't look right" echo in my head as I draft my response. Not "we miss you" or "we want you there." Just concern about appearances. I write the decline letter on my best stationery, each word measured and precise. Thank you for the invitation. I'm unable to attend. I wish Sloane and Derek every happiness. No explanation, no apology, just facts, politely stated. Sealing the envelope feels like closing a chapter. The tremor in my hands, once a constant companion, is noticeably absent as I press the stamp into place. 2 days later, my phone buzzes with a text from Casey, my college roommate who still keeps in touch with Sloane. Thought you should see this. Her message reads, followed by screenshots from my family's group chat. Mother, Emberly declined. So selfish. Sloane, typical. Everything's always about her. Stepfather, we're better off without the drama. I stare at their words, waiting for the familiar ache in my chest. It doesn't come. Instead, I feel an unexpected lightness, as if the final weight has been lifted. When I sealed that response letter, I wondered if I was closing a door that should remain cracked open. Is maintaining family connections worth sacrificing your self-respect? Or does true healing sometimes require a clean break? 3 days later, the Halston Media office occupies the 12th floor of a glass tower in downtown Portland. I arrived 20 minutes early for the interview, giving myself time to navigate the lobby. My movements are more fluid now, though the slight hitch in my stride remains a subtle reminder of metal pins and hard-won recovery. The receptionist smiles as I approach. Miss Wilson? They're ready for you. The interviewer, a woman with silver-streaked hair and bright eyes, doesn't glance at my leg once. Instead, she studies my portfolio with genuine interest, asking thoughtful questions about my design process and creative philosophy. Your work shows remarkable attention to detail, she says, lingering over a branding package I created for a local coffee shop. And these user experience flows, they demonstrate real empathy for the customer journey. When she extends the offer design manager, $115,000 annually, with benefits and remote work flexibility, I maintain my composure until I reach my car. Then I press my forehead against the steering wheel and let the tears flow freely, not from pain or loss, but from vindication. That evening, I call Mr. Callahan to share the news. They saw my work, I tell him, my voice thick with emotion. Not my limp, not my story, just my work. The world is full of people who recognize value when they see it, he replies. And those who don't? They reveal more about themselves than about you. 2 weeks later, the cottage sits on a 1/4 acre just outside the city limits. It's nothing grand, 2 bedrooms, worn hardwood floors that creak with character, and a wraparound porch that caught my eye the moment I saw the listing. The previous owners left behind climbing roses that frame the front steps, their scent welcoming visitors even before the door opens. The realtor, a man with a booming laugh and perpetually untucked shirts, raises his eyebrows when I make the offer without consulting anyone. Don't you want to bring your husband by? Or your parents? He asks, pen hovering over the paperwork. It's just me, I reply, meeting his gaze steadily, and I know what I want. When the closing date arrives, I sit alone at a table scattered with documents, signing my name over and over. The loan officer explains each form with practiced efficiency, occasionally glancing up as if expecting someone else to walk through the door. The final signature complete, she hands me a set of keys attached to a small wooden house charm. Congratulations, Miss Wilson. The property is yours. The weight of those keys in my palm feels different from anything I've experienced before, not the burden of dependence or the sting of rejection. Instead, they represent a promise kept to myself, a foundation built with my own hands. That evening, I sit on the porch steps of my new home, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and pink. For the first time in over a year, I don't feel the need to look back. The road ahead, winding and uncertain as it may be, is entirely mine to travel. Almost 2 years later, the package arrives on a Wednesday, wrapped in mint green paper with cartoon giraffes dancing across the surface. Inside lies a tiny blue onesie, impossibly small booties, and a handwritten note from Sloane. Your nephew wants to meet his aunt. I run my fingers over the soft cotton, something tugging at my heart despite my best efforts to remain unmoved. I place the package on my coffee table where it sits for 3 days before I tuck it away in a drawer. No response sent. 2 weeks later, another envelope arrives. This one contains no baby clothes, Just a medical bill with my stepfather's name and a post-it note in my mother's handwriting. Robert had a stroke. We're drowning in expenses. The subtle implication hangs unspoken between the typewritten lines now that I've landed on my feet. Surely I owe them. My phone buzzes with increasing frequency. Text messages appear like clockwork, each one heavier with obligation than the last. Family takes care of family. My mother writes on a Tuesday morning. Remember who raised you? Arrives that Friday evening. Your nephew said his first word today. It should have been aunt. Sloan adds the following week. 3 days later, I've just finished watering my front porch ferns when a silver sedan pulls into my driveway. My mother steps out, looking older than I remember, her hair more gray than brown now. She wears her church clothes, cream-colored blouse, sensible tan slacks, gold cross necklace catching the afternoon sunlight. The outfit she reserves for important negotiations. Emberly, she calls, not waiting for an invitation before climbing my porch steps. What a lovely home. I don't invite her inside. Instead, I remain where I stand. Watering can still gripped in my right hand. Why are you here? Can't a mother visit her daughter? She attempts a smile that doesn't reach her eyes. We miss you. Robert's been asking for you since his stroke. A calm settles over me, different from the anxiety her presence would have triggered a year ago. I needed you when I was sleeping in my car with a broken leg. Her expression falters. We didn't know. I almost lost my leg while you were too busy to answer my calls. My voice remains steady, a fact that seems to unnerve her more than if I'd shouted. 17 calls, Mother. Not one returned. You've always been so independent, we thought. You thought what was convenient for you to think. I set the watering can down on the porch railing. The truth is, you never showed up for me unless it benefited you somehow. That's not fair, she protests, eyes darting past me to peer through my front windows. We're family. Family wouldn't have let me sleep in a car that December with a compound femur fracture. She sighs dramatically. Are you still dwelling on that? It's been almost 2 years, Emberly. People make mistakes. 2 robins land on my front lawn, pecking at the grass while we stand in silence. I've rehearsed this moment countless times, but now that it's here, I feel nothing but a profound weariness. The following Monday, I sit across from attorney Joanna Faulkner, her office smelling of lemon polish and old books. A formal no-contact letter is certainly within your rights, she explains, sliding papers across her desk. Once served by certified mail, any further attempts at contact could potentially constitute harassment. And they can't contest it? I ask, pen hovering above the signature line. They can contest anything, but the law is on your side. Her eyes are kind behind tortoiseshell glasses. This isn't about disowning them, it's about establishing boundaries they've proven unwilling to respect. I sign my name with a steady hand, authorizing letters to be sent to my mother, stepfather, and Sloan. The weight lifts from my shoulders with each stroke of the pen. 3 days later, my phone rings with my mother's number. Against better judgment, I answer. You can't legally disown your family. Her voice borders on hysterical. We're blood. What will people at church think? I'm not disowning you, I reply, surprised by the calm in my voice. I'm protecting myself. After hanging up, I systematically silence notifications, redirect my mail to a P.O. box, and block their accounts across all social media platforms. The final click of the block button feels like locking a door on a chapter of my life that no longer serves me. That evening, I sit alone on my porch swing, watching fireflies blink in the gathering dusk. The slight creak of the chains above my head keeps rhythm with the cicadas' evening chorus. For the first time in months, I breathe deeply without the tightness in my chest that thoughts of family once triggered. 3 months pass in peaceful silence. Then a sympathy card arrives from a distant cousin my stepfather has died. The note mentions I've been cut from the will. When my friend Marcella calls to tell me, concerned about how I'm taking the news, my response surprises even me. Good. I wouldn't have taken a cent. A week later, a thick envelope arrives, Sloane's familiar handwriting sprawled across the front. Inside is a 5-page letter filled with vitriol, ending with, "You'll die alone." I seal it in a fresh envelope, write "Return to sender" across the front, and add a second smaller envelope marked, "For my aunt, 18 years from now." Both are returned unopened. Standing at my mailbox watching the postal carrier drive away with my returned letters, I realize I've finally stopped waiting for the family I was born into to become the family I needed. In their absence, I've become my own foundation. The scent of barbecue sauce mingles with summer air as I adjust the platter of corn on my back deck. 3 years have transformed this space from barren dirt to an oasis. Tomato plants climb their cages in neat rows beside peppers and herbs, a living testament to patience and care. Need any help with those? Melissa calls from the picnic table where she's arranging paper plates in colorful stacks. Got it covered, I answer, balancing the tray on my hip as I navigate the steps. My leg gives only the slightest twinge, a whisper of what once was. The limp that doctors warned might be permanent has faded to a subtle hitch in my stride, noticeable only to those who know to look for it. I move through my garden with the confidence of someone who has rebuilt herself from foundation to rooftop. Laughter erupts from the far corner where Sam is telling another outrageous story from his restaurant kitchen. The sound fills my yard, warm and genuine, so different from the measured, careful conversations of my childhood home where words were currency spent only when necessary. Your tomatoes are putting mine to shame, my neighbor Eleanor says, inspecting a plump red fruit. What's your secret? Knowing when to cut away what doesn't serve you. I answer with a smile. And good compost. The words carry more truth than she knows. Some things must be pruned for others to flourish. Later, as the sky melts into watercolor hues, I stand in the hospital corridor where my life fractured and reformed. The same antiseptic smell, the same fluorescent lights, but a different woman walks these halls now. My steps are sure, my shoulders squared beneath my blazer. The donation check in my purse feels like completion of a circle. $5,000 toward the Patient Emergency Fund, not enough to change the world, but perhaps enough to change one world, the way Mr. Callahan changed mine. When the administrator steps away to get a receipt, I slip down the recovery wing. Room 412 looks the same as when I spent those awful nights staring at the ceiling. I tap the underside of the bed frame and secure a small envelope with clear tape. Inside, a note. Sometimes the ones you need most walk away, and sometimes you're better off because of it. Words I wish someone had told me when I thought being abandoned meant being unworthy of love. The monthly dinner at the Callahans has become a cornerstone of my calendar. Margaret's dining room glows with candlelight as we pass dishes family style, the conversation flowing as easily as the wine, to building bridges that matter. Mr. Callahan says, raising his glass, and having the courage to burn those that don't. His wife squeezes my hand under the table. Their son, now in college, asks about my next speaking engagement. The warmth around this table has nothing to do with blood relations, and everything to do with chosen presence. These people showed up. They continue to show up. No conditions, no scorekeeping. My book sits on bookstores' shelves nationwide now, its spine bearing my name above the title, After Abandonment. Building a Life That's Yours. The publisher called last week about a second printing. The speaking requests arrive daily: community centers, support groups, conferences for therapists who work with estranged adult children. I've repainted every room in my house, installed new windows that let in more light, planted perennials that return stronger each spring. The physical manifestations of an inner truth. Renewal requires both destruction and creation. Tonight, I sit on my porch swing as sunset paints the sky in brushstrokes of amber and rose. The solitude wraps around me like a favorite blanket, comfortable rather than confining. Not lonely, just peacefully alone. As I sat there watching the light fade, I realized that forgiveness doesn't always mean reconciliation. Sometimes it simply means accepting that the past cannot be changed, but the future is entirely yours to build. Would you have tried one more time with family who abandoned you in your darkest hour? Or would you have done as I did, close that door to open better ones?